Shall I start, ma'am? I'm going to deal is we will be dealing about evolution at the level of class 12th, and then later on I will be specifically focusing upon human evolution according to my understanding, according to what I wanted to share with you guys with a little bit higher standard things. And I would like to tell you in advance only that there were few things that I have not included over here from the evolution part, since I had to focus upon the human evolution specifically. So let's go further. What exactly evolution is? The first thing that whenever we go in a class and when term which has been studied by the student in class 10th, though it was deleted from past 2 years. Then also the first thing what we do is whenever we are trying to introduce a new term or make them understand a new term, the first thing we do that we try to recapitulate the information that they are already having. So evolution is actually an orderly change, which because of which one form of organism transforms to other. And not to be forgotten one thing, that we always mention terms like that it is a slow, gradual, continuous process which takes place over a very long period of time, because evolution is something which is always needs to be mentioned in context of time. So the first thing is the definition. The definition could go in different ways depending upon what are the things that needs to be included in that. Then when we are talking about evolution, we are supposed to talk about the evolutionary biology as well. That it is the science branch of biology in which we study of history of life forms on Earth. That what from where the story started and how it is going on right now, and even we try to include that whether the story is going to end, which is actually the never-ending process. So that will also be included. Now everything starts, as I use the term that origin. Everything starts from the origin, so it's very necessary that we should be talking about the concept of origin of life. This is such an intriguing question for the students as well. Like the common thing that they ask, like specifically in the junior classes, ki ma'am pehle murgi aayi ki anda, or from where the first form of life actually began. So it is very necessary for them to understand ki how everything whatever is present around us has actually come into existence. And for that we need to know about the vast space about the universe. And as we all know, the most accepted theory, which is the Big Bang theory, which actually explains that how the universe was originated around 50 to 20 billion years ago, and it by a magnanimous, humongous, unexplainable explosion. And this was given by Ab Georges Lemaitre in the year 1931, which was further elaborated, but this became the core of all the explanation, the Big Bang theory. So this is the first thing that attracts the students a lot, since they were not in very much detail knowing about these things. So first thing that we explain is the Big Bang theory. The second thing that we explain specifically, that after the formation of universe, how the formation or how the origin of Earth came into existence, how the Earth came into existence, and what was the situation in the initial days. So as we explained there, that the UV rays from the sun broke up the water into hydrogen and oxygen then combined with ammonia and methane to form water, carbon dioxide, etc. And as we explained them, that gravitation was such a thing which was present on the Earth since day one, and because of this, the condensation of gases happened and atmosphere was formed. Along with that, the ozone layer was also formed, and as it cooled, the water vapor fell as rain to form oceans. This is whenever I explain this thing in the class, that for thousands and thousands of years only it has rained, then they understand what a great thing, what a great structure, what a great ocean water bodies, oceans are. Life, and then we explained that around 4 billion years ago appeared, 4.5 billion years ago, that life appeared on the Earth. The Earth was formed about 4.5 billion years ago, and the first form of life came about after around 0.5 billion years ago. There was no atmosphere in early Earth, and the water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide, and ammonia, these were released from the molten mass and covered the surface. And this only they later on got condensed and formed the atmosphere. So in the early atmosphere, only these initial gases were there, including hydrogen and oxygen, which later come on into the atmosphere. That what is the exact explanation of, because since childhood, the kind of family we grow in, the kind of society we live in, and then the kind of school where that we get different kind of teachings regarding life, that how it came into existence, and there are few things that we learn by ourselves as well. So it is quite confusing exactly that what is the exact phenomena, what is the exact explanation. What is the exact explanation, or is there anything which actually tells the story of just a minute, sir. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. So there are several theories which are given, and out of that we have shortened the there's five theories that we have to study. In which the first one is the theory of spontaneous generation, which is known as abiogenesis or autobiogenesis. And according to this theory, which was given by Van Helmont, he suggested that life came out of decaying and rotting matter. Actually, he had a very funny idea of origin of life. He said that the mice has taken birth from a sweat-drenched mice, from a sweat-drenched shirt. The mice has taken birth after it was kept in a dark in a farm for around for 21 days, and out after 21 days, mice came out of it. Which is in today's date we know that it is not possible at all. But yeah, up to certain times it was, people suggested this, and some of them accepted this as well. So first theory was the theory of spontaneous generation or abiogenesis, but it was later nullified by Louis Pasteur, as he disproved this theory of abiogenesis by various demonstrations. And one of the demonstrations, as we can see, that they, by using this conical flask thing, he did several experiments, and there was a range of experiments in which one of them I have shown over here. He demonstrated that life comes only from the pre-existing life. He showed that life did not come from killed yeast in a closed pre-sterilized flask, but in an open flask, that is, microbes appeared, as the setup that we can see over here, that one of the flasks is consisting of the killed yeast and another one is nothing is there. So the new forms of life was available only where in an open flask where the life was there. Then after that came the second theory, and this was the theory of biogenesis. It is actually a compound work of many zoologists, many researchers. It is proposed by Francisco Redi, Spallanzani, and Louis Pasteur. It states that life originates from the pre-existing life, and it does not. But the problem with this, that it is not able to explain that what was the first form of life entirely. So yes, it was accepted, but not entirely, since many of the elaboration explanations were not there. Then we came to the third theory, which is the one which had the seeds. So the seeds have been shown in us since our early childhood. That is the cosmic theory, or the theory of panspermia. It states that the unit of life was supposed were transferred to different planets including Earth. It actually states that, and the children actually gets very exciting in this, because when we use a term like alienated or aliens, and so then they start to question in other directions as well. Ma'am, do you believe in alien? Is that the thing or what? So according to this theory, that the actual life forms are there. It is present in some other part of the universe, from where the spores has migrated, and since the situation, environmental conditions on life was on Earth was favorable, So they started to flourish over here. This is the theory of panspermia, and many of the astronomers they still believe in this. Next is the theory of special creation. Actually, this was a theory which is imbibed in us since early childhood, that we all are created by some supernatural power, and that's God. And this is also depends, the story also varies depending upon which faith, which religion you are following. But eventually, science talks only about logic and the proof. And none of these theories, above said theories, was actually accepted, was actually proven yet. Then lastly came the theory of chemical evolution, which was actually proposed by Oparin and Haldane. And they stated that the first form of life was originated from non-living inorganic and organic molecules such as methane, ammonia, water, sugars, proteins, nucleic acids, etc. And the statement it was given by Haldane actually, that abiogenesis first, but biogenesis ever since. It means that we even teach in class 11th as well, biomolecules, that all form the organic substances has actually taken birth from the interaction in between the inorganic substances. So this is a statement which we can say that which is a precursor. This statement is as if actually the precursor of that. Then this theory, the theory which was propounded by Haldane and Oparin, was further elaborated and experimented by Urey Miller, in which the herald Urey Stanley Miller experimentally proved this theory of chemical evolution that we even teach in class 12. This whole setup is there. They exactly created a condition like that of primitive Earth. That is, they were having a temperature which was varying in between 100 to 800 degrees Celsius. There were volcanic storms were there, reducing temperature of atmosphere with methane, ammonia, water, hydrogen, etc. And since during that time it only rained and rained, so and during that electrical discharges also happened, lightning was also there. So they used to pass electrical discharges in the closed flask where the environment was there and the temperature was maintained around 800 degrees Celsius. As a result, when the water was studied later, then it was seen that the water contains some of the very basic type of amino acids are present. And in similar experiment, other observed formation of sugars, nitrogen bases, pigment, fats, etc. So the thing which is explained earlier, that actually abiogenesis first, biogenesis ever since, was proven with this particular experimentation. And this experimentation is actually is one of the key or milestone experiments we can say in order to start believing in evolution or how the exactly origin of life actually started. So this is one of the key experimentation. Now, since we believe in evolution and we are the scientific people, we who talks upon the proofs and logical explanation, so we need to prove the concept on evidence, or you may say that the evolution actually exists, and for that we need to give several evidences, in which we are going to have the evidences for the evolution, which we have further categorized into paleontological, morphological and anatomical, biogeographical evidences, biochemical evidences, embryological, and eventually with some of the examples of natural selection, in which we will be studying about that these natural selection is manifested by the human activities and the anthropogenic ones. Now the paleontological evidences. To study phylogeny, evolutionary history or race or history, for example, horse evolution was one of the example. So the way we teach in the class, that the most simplest way is that when colonization started, industrialization started, so the digging of earth started at many places. And while digging, people started to get that there were several fossils. And now in here we explain them from where the term actually the paleontology has come. What do you mean by paleontology? What do you mean by fossil? Is it always whenever you talk about dead remains, so dead remain, does it fossil is always represented by a skeleton, dead remain of animal, or some impressions are also there? So we explain it over here, but they had to study about this in class 10th as well. But again, since past 2 years, they are not studying that part. So fossils needs to be explained here properly, that what are the things that could be categorized as a fossil. And here they will be, we explain about them to study the connecting link between the groups of organism. Like Archaeopteryx is the most important example out of it, where the students actually learn that how this ancestry could be related. That why we can say that why the aves and reptiles is placed before aves, and how they are like in they are close related to each other, or how the different species are distantly or phylums are distantly related to each other, how this relation is designed, and how who designs it and all that. So Archaeopteryx, Actinopterygi is an important example in that. By taking whose example, we make them understand what exactly fossil is. And the fossils, the paleontological evidences actually help us to even know about the extinct animals, for example dinosaurs, because none of us has actually seen them, but we know that, we actually believe and we know that they were there. So how we got to know? So the paleontological evidences, the fossils has the greatest role to play in knowing about what was before us, what were there, the things which were before us. To study about the geological period by analyzing fossils in sedimentary rock layers, the study showed that life forms varied over time, and certain life forms are restricted to certain geological time spans. Like later we will be studying on that the dinosaurs were specifically restricted, constrained into that Mesozoic era. And then whatever species we're going to study about, they all were there present in the specific geological period. So we can we show them the image of this, that how it actually the archaeopteryx used to look, and how we have got it, the fossil of it. Okay, and it is a connecting link between the reptiles and birds, where they share a common ancestry. Second example is the morphological and anatomical evidences. Here we give them the concept of homologous and homology, or analogous organs. And here we compare the four limbs of different organisms, and we explain them that what do you mean by the homologous organs. One more thing is that we can give, it's not necessary that you can always give example from the book as well. You can give some other example also, which make the terminologies and the concept more relatable to them. So homologous organs, as we all know, these are the organs which are having similarity in the structure, but they have different functions, and this phenomena is known as homology. Homologous organs, actually when they share similarity in structure and then they have different functions, so it shows how it proves as an evidence for the evolution. This actually is given by, we can explain over here by giving the example of the forelimb of a man, forelimb of a frog, or the forelimb of a whale, or forelimb of any other, of a cheetah, whatever different examples could be there. That since all of us has got a similar structure, but a man performs different kind of function with the forelimb. A cheetah runs at a speed of 140 kilometer per hour with that forelimb, and and a whale swims with the help of it, and that of a frog leaps with the help of it. So they have got similar structure, but the functions are different. So it means that they had a common ancestry at one point of time, but since they got exposed to different kind of changing environment, so they adapted according to the environmental condition as they need to survive. Adaptation is a phenomena which is always in context of survival. It is always there. So one more example we can give in the case of plants, that the thorns of the plant and the tendrils of the bougainvillea and cucurbita that is shown over here, they are also an example of homologous organs. Now, here we give them the concept of the divergent evolution. First of all, they have understood what exactly evolution is, then how homologous organs holds an important position to explain the divergent or convergent. So I always give the example of the physics terms, like do you understand by the meaning of convergence, and then divergence within the context of concave and convex lens. So from there they understand that divergent is actually a term which has come from the term divergence, where it starts from a common point and then gets radiated into different areas and changing according to the different environmental conditions. Now, divergent evolution is the evolution by which related species become less similar to survive and adapt in different environmental conditions. So it's very obvious that since they're exposed to they have got different kind of prevailing environment, and everybody, each of the organism, when they're staying in that kind of habitat for a very long time, they will surely show different kind of adaptations in order to survive there, and that leads to the divergent evolution. So homologous organisms or organs, sorry, is a very good example, is a good way to explain them the concept of divergent evolution. We can even give the example in between them, that like generally what I do is that I give the example of siblings, like somebody is there, so brother or sister, that example I give, that how they can lead to different kind of life, they can migrate to different places, and after a few generations what important adaptations or changes can be observed in between them, which it actually makes it easier for me them to more it makes it relatable to them in order to understand. Then let's we go to the analogous one, and just opposite to homology, that they are having similar function but they have got different structure and origin. So here they understand the concept of convergent evolution, that where how these structures are absolutely different. That is wing of an insect, it is made up of chitin, it is flaky in structure, whereas that of a wing of a bird is, or any of it is made up of feathers, and it actually the modified forelimbs. But the common function that they do, the common function that they perform is both of them are able to fly with the help of it. But the structure, they're absolutely different. The function is common. So what it leads to? It leads to that they used to live in different environmental conditions. They actually belong to different ancestry, but since they migrated at some point of time, they migrated to a common point, to a common geographical condition. So they have adapted a similar feature in order to to survive in that kind of condition. And here also we can give the different kind of examples, like I generally do that in class 12, that you guys have come from different school in class 11th, but now you all are under the same roof, you all are living in the same area, same school, and studying same school. So you will be having some of the common features irrespective of how different you were. Just trying to give more and more relatable examples. After that comes the biochemical evidences. The biochemical evidences, as we know, and in class 10th also we are studying about molecular phylogeny, a bit is there, that the best way or the easiest way is to know about whether the similarities, whether they belong to whether they are close related or distantly related, is by studying the similarities in the proteins, genes, or any other biochemical molecule which is present in them. So more similar the feature, more close related they are, and they could be having a common ancestry. This is the easiest, but yes, the most highly technical way to compare or give the evidence to having a common ancestry or to explain evolution as a whole. Next is biogeographical evidences, the most interesting one, because here they know the story of Darwin. So this is where we explain about them. First of all, what we do is the definition of adaptive radiation. That is adaptive radiation. I always break this term, like adaptive variation as it is given over here, evolution by adaptation. So since they know the term adaptation and now they know the term evolution, so that's why I first of all always break the term in order to make more easy for them. It is actually the evolution of different species in a geographical area starting from a single point, in some sort of convergent evolution. And first example, as you can see in the picture as well, the Darwin finches in the Galapagos Island, like from where then we generally tell about that what exactly Galapagos Islands are. It's a group of islands, and the main ancestral stock started from a sea dating one, and how they migrated to the neighboring islands, and according to the prevailing environment, their eating habits changed, as a result of which the size of the beak also get affected, since they were living there for a very long time. Another two of the examples that is given in the NCERT as well is the marsupials of Australia, that though they have got a common ancestry, but since they got exposed to different kind of environmental conditions, all of them got exposed to different. But one thing that they share that all of them, most of them are marsupials over here. Then next is the example of marsupials of Australian as well as the placental mammals of the North America. So though they are living in two different, absolutely different geographical conditions, but the environmental conditions are similar there in both the areas. That's why though they are very distant from each other geographically, still they share some of the common features. This is one more example that how geographical condition can lead to the adaptive radiation. And then next is the embryological evidences. This was actually proposed by Ernest Haeckel, and he gave the theory of the recapitulation theory. He observed that all vertebrate embryos have some common features that are absent in adult. And here I always give the example that when we were studying about animal kingdom, when we were studying about the chordata and vertebrata. So when we study about when we study about the even the human embryo. They are having some of the structures like notochord is an important structure. So though adult human is not having it, but the embryo of it is surely having it. So I gave the example of this. See, he observed that all vertebrate embryos have some common features that are absent in the adult. For example, all vertebrate embryos, including human, develop vestigial gill slits just behind the ear, but it is functional only in fish and not found in other adult vertebrates. Okay, but the von Baer, he actually rejected this proposal, and Ernest Haeckel actually gave this statement: ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. He noted that embryos never pass through the adult stages of the other animals. So they had their conjecture was there, but eventually we know that if you want to know the phylogenetic journey or phylogeny of any of the species, if you study the embryo of it, many of the instances or many instances of it can be easily observed there, that what is the from where they have started the journey and where they are leading to exactly. And lastly, the evolution evidences for evolution by natural selection. Natural selection, we all know, is the process by which organisms that are best suited for the environment survive and reproduce. And one of the example, and actually this example is not just of natural selection, it is actually by natural selection by anthropogenic actions, means due to human activities, and there are two examples of it. And out of this one, the first one is the industrial melanism, which holds a very important position in the questioning as well. And the second one is the development of resistant varieties in organism against herbicide, pesticide, antibiotics or drugs, etc. We will elaborate industrial melanism at a bit. Here we explain them that before in 1850s, during the 1850s, when the industrialization was not there, and we specifically take the example of England over there, then what was the condition? That there was a forest where the white colored lichen, since there was no pollution, so the bark of the tree were white, and this lichen, which is actually a symbol, not exactly symbol, it is one which shows the pollution is present or absent, because wherever it is an indicator of pollution. So wherever the pollution is there, the lichens never grow there. So in that background, the white-winged moths survived, but the dark-colored moths were picked out by the predators. So here the peppered moths were present, and since the bark was white and the lichen was also present there, so it made it white, and since no pollution was there, the white one got benefited over here, the variation was benefited over here, and the black one used to be picked. But the scenario just became opposite after 1920s, when the industrialization set in England and the area started to become polluted. And as a result of which, because of production of soot and the carbon particles and smoke, the tree trunks become dark due to the industrial smoke and soot. And as a result of which, as we know that lichens are the indicators of pollution, there are no lichens now. Now this condition, white-winged moths did not survive because the predators identified them easily. As a result of which, dark-winged moths survived because of suitable dark brown, that is, predators could not identify them. So the human activities, the humans are actually capable of changing the scenario. This is a very good example of that earlier what it was and later what it became after the setting in of the industrialization. Now after this, we are coming to the theory of biological evolution, and there were several theories, but out of which three of these were worth mentioning, and the most important one, as I can say that. So we will start with this. First one is the theory of Lamarck, which was given, or Lamarckism as we know, and also known as theory of inheritance of acquired characters. So it was proposed by Lamarck, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. It states that evolution of life forms occurred by the inheritance of acquired characters. And here we explain, as I have mentioned, as shown in the diagram as well, that the early giraffes, according to Lamarck, never used to have a tall neck, long neck. They never used to have this. But as the vegetation on the surface decreased and they had to reach for the ones which is present on the top, so in order of getting there, it discontinued for for a very long time, and as a result of which the neck of the giraffe got stretched. And in today's scenario, today's giraffe, you can see that they have already have got a long neck, which is not exactly believable, since in today's date we know that it's not actually proven yet properly. So according to Lamarckism, acquired characters are developed by use and disuse of organs. For evolution by use of organs, for example, long neck of giraffe is due to the continuous elongation to forage leaves on trees. This acquired character was inherited to succeeding generations, and evolution by disuse, we may say disappearance of limbs in snake, as we can see in the picture over here. The earlier the snakes used to have limb. Since they never used it, they found it more comfortable moving on the scales. As a result of that, today's date they are not having the limbs at all. But again, this theory was entirely eliminated because it is proven that characters are inherited only through genes. That was given, but the germplasm theory was later given, which proved that it is not possible that by just acquiring any one character within a lifetime, it is going to transmit to the next generation. And anything which is not able to be transmitted to the next generation won't be able to create any kind of change, won't be able to bring any kind of change in any of the species. Then later came the Darwinism, which actually is a proposed, whatever theory Darwin proposed is not entirely his work alone. He has worked all together. Here are surely not to forget to mention Alfred Wallace and Thomas Malthus. And specifically Alfred Wallace, I always tell them that the work which was done by Darwin in the Galapagos Island, the same nature of work was done by Alfred Wallace in the Malay Archipelago, and he also has similar kind of consequences only. And it was Darwinism. The Darwinian theory was proposed by Charles Darwin, and he gave this theory of natural selection. It was based on observation during a sea voyage in a sail ship called HMS Beagle, which is a very important neat question as well. Alfred Wallace, a naturalist, worked in the Malay Archipelago, had also come to similar conclusion, and work of Thomas Malthus on population influenced Darwin. So it is whatever Darwin has proposed it's a combined work of, you may say, of all these three gentlemen. Now, Darwinism, since he is the father of evolution, that's why it's very necessary to what he believed in and what are the things he proposed. So Darwinism is based on two key concepts specifically. One is the branching descent. It explains that all organisms are modified descents of previous life forms. Like one example, as you can see over here, that there is a petri dish consisting of the resistant bacteria, and when we have changed the composition, that means we have added, there are two colonies, one is colony A, other is the colony B. So addition of antibiotic is done, only some of them were able to survive. But as the red one are the resistant bacteria, but as the time passed by, you can see in the third petri dish, the number of the resistant bacteria increases, and a result of which eventually by the end of this, the petri dish, which consisted of high amount of large number of the resistant bacteria. So this is the theory, or whatever the concept of natural selection was given by Darwinism, and tried to be explained over here with the help of this example. Now, what were the most important things upon which the Darwinian theory stresses, or the theory of natural selection stresses? The first one is the heritable minor variations, which we actually call the variations, it is either beneficial or harmful to the organism. In class 10th बच्चे एक statement पढ़ते हैं कि variation किसी particular species, किसी particular individual के लिए beneficial हो ना हो, species के लिए, entire population के लिए हमेशा beneficial होता है. And this is something that we due to maximum reproduction, for example, bacterial population. Third is the limited natural resources. Resources are not increased in accordance with the population size, because it is said that we mentioned that the resources are actually unlimited, but up to after a certain extent, because there's several reasons, the resources do becomes limited. And then we study in organism and population later regarding in this context. Struggle for existence, it is the competition among organisms for resources so that the population size is limited. And not to forget that after it is possible that the resources could be limited, but we should not forget the intra-specific competition, which always works like a key factor, like a checking factor, which keeps the population size checked. Next is the survival of the fittest. In struggle of existence, organisms with beneficial variations can utilize resources better, hence they survive and reproduce. This is called the survival of the fittest. It leads to the change in population characteristics and new forms appear. And whenever we talk about Darwinian theory, whenever we talk about the fit, the concept of fit in case of Darwinian is one who is able to reproduce, reproductively fit. So this is about the Darwinian theory. Lastly, we will be talking about the mutation theory, or which is a work of Hugo de Vries. He proposed a mutation theory of evolution, and he actually performed several experiments on the evening primrose or Eunothera lamakiana, and believed that evolution takes place through mutation and not by minor variation. Actually, he was the one who gave the concept of saltation. He said that speciation is actually a product of single step, very large mutation which has taken place, and it is unlike Darwin. He didn't agree with Darwin's perception, because according to Darwin, while variation is very slow, it's very minimum, and it's directional, always functions in a specific way. And then eventually, since it is minor, slow and directional, evolution is something which takes place over a very long period of time, which is not something which happens overnight. But according to de Vries, mutational theory variation is sudden, random and directionless. So according to him, speciation is actually a product of mutation only, and that also a saltation, which the term that he introduced. According to him, mutation is the origin of variation for evolution. I would like to actually discuss all the teachers over here that what is your perception, whether the mutation has some sort of contribution or it is not there. What is your take on this, sir, teachers, about mutation?
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, according to my point of view, mutation is definitely part of evolution, because mutation is a sudden change, and we see that there are so many species, and in those species, like here we can see in certain flowers, some petals are of different colors, and after some times, all these different colors appear in a single flower. So at first, a small change appears in any flower, but after some time these changes are vast. So we see that the small changes appears first, but in a vast number of population these changes increases. So these all changes appears due to mutation. So mutation is definitely a part of evolution, according to my point of view.
Yeah. So I also feel like that this is something which needs to be given due importance, that mutation do actually, the problem is that he entirely gave the credit to mutation, but yes, it is also one of the very important contributory factors in evolution. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Thank
Good
you so
morning,
much, sir.
Good
ma'am.
morning, sir.
Mutation also play important role in evolution because mutation causes variation, changing, alteration, and variation causes evolution. So
Yes.
it is also a part of evolution.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely correct, sir. Now, since as I told earlier that as I need to focus upon specifically on human evolution, that's why I'm skipping the some of the parts. So I'm extremely sorry for that. That I won't be able to include in there. If I get one chance again, then I will be focusing upon that. So now we are coming to the to understand the brief account of evolution. We need to know about the different time scales, geological time scales. So till now, the geological time scale has been defined into categorized into four of the eras. First one is the Proterozoic, then Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. So these are the eras which occurred, and here in these organisms, some of the organisms were able to produce oxygen as a light reaction in photosynthesis, and this was the time when the division started and most of the unicellular organism became transformed in the multicellular organism. Though many of the things, important things happened during all these eras, but I've tried to include only the most highlighting ones, the important ones. So pardon me for that. Next is the Paleozoic era. This was the most crucial era where the invertebrates were actually formed. And the first land organism, as we can see the example of a coelacanth over here, the first land organism, that is plants, appeared over here. Arthropods invaded the land. Jawless fishes were evolved. Low finned, stout and strong finned fishes could move on land and go back to water. They evolved to first amphibians, ancestors of modern day frogs and salamanders. We can see the fossil of a coelacanth over here. It is supposed to be a extinct one, but I remember 3 months back one of the, I am not able to remember which country, but they were able to see one of the coelacanth over there. So it's still alive. Yes, yeah, 3 months back, I think in Thailand or somewhere I heard, I don't remember exactly. So it was found there. Okay, next let's go to other important factors of the Paleozoic era. Here in this era, the seaweeds and some of the plants used to exist. Amphibians evolved to reptiles. They lay thick shelled eggs, and then giant ferns, the pteridophytes. This was the era where the pteridophytes actually came into existence. Were present, but they fell to form coal deposits slowly. Okay. Now let's come to the next era. This is the Mesozoic era, or the most important era when we will study evolution, since it is the age of reptiles, the age of dinosaurs to be more precise. Age of reptiles and gymnosperms. It was further divided into three periods: Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. And during this only, some of the reptiles which used to live on the land, they migrated into water and transformed into the fish. As one of the example is Ichthyosaurus, and the image of it you can see it clearly. Next is the Cenozoic era, which is still going on. This is the age of mammals and the angiosperms. It has two periods further: tertiary and quaternary. And the quaternary one is what leads to the age of man. And this is the preface of what you say, that with which I'm setting up for the evolution of man, which is I'm going to focus upon specifically. So now from here we will be talking about the story of evolution man, and I will try to do justice with it as much as I can. Okay, first of all, we need to know about the history of it, that how things happened and how all this started. So a bit of the history I tried to include over here. It was started off by Huxley, who made the first attempt to man's origin in his book Man's Place in Nature, and visualized apes, the closest human relatives. Later in the year 1871, Charles Darwin advocated his idea about man's ancestry in his the book, the very famous book actually, The Descent with Man, and propounded origin of man from apes. First fossils of human ancestors were described by Eugene Dubois in 1880s. This includes skull cap, lower jaw fragments, and thigh bones from East Indies. This was the time a lot of fossils were being seen, observed. So this all observation is based upon the fossils which were being observed that we got at that time. Most pre-human fossils were discovered and studied from 1920s onwards. The main contributors for the study of human evolution were Raymond Dart, Davidson Black, and Elizabeth Leakey and Ma Leakey and their son Richard. This was a couple, and Mary Leakey and the son was Richard. So when I was going through the history of it, so I saw that they had made many major contributions, major discoveries in order to knowing about fossils and specifically human fossils. Major sites of human fossils. Humans and pre-human fossils have been obtained from Africa, India, China, Algeria, and Europe. In South Africa, fossils of Australopithecus, Paranthropus, Homo erectus, and Neanderthal man were found. And then in Tanzania, Java, Zambia, and Kenya, respectively. We all know that when we talk about fossils or specifically about humans, the Africa and Central Asia holds the most important, is actually the most important places these are. Along with that, some Israel, Iraq, and Lebanon were rich in human fossil deposits of Neanderthal, Heidelberg, and Cro-Magnon man specifically. Place and time of origin of man. The fossils of pre-human, human, and ancestral human forms have been obtained from widely diverse regions of Africa, Asia, and Europe, which indicate that man's center of origin was probably in Asian Africa, and which actually is given in class 10th NCERT as well. That it is specifically, precisely given that Africa and everybody migrated from there, from 4th and backwards, and most precisely in Central Asia. Primates are presumed to have started evolving in Eocene of Tertiary period between 75 to 60 million years ago. They were small lemur-like animals. They were primarily arboreal with a long tail and small face. In late Oligocene, about 25 to 30 million years, these terms Eocene, Oligocene, and as you all know, that these are in context of the geological, to know about the geological time scale. These are several terms are there. When these evergreen forests were replaced by drier savanna grasslands, some tree-dwelling primates returned back to the ground and became ancestors of apes and man. Thus, evolution of man and apes started together about 25 to 30 million years ago. Humanization is actually separated from other apes about 6 million years ago in Pliocene, it's specifically in Africa. Now, what are the causes? This is what we have studied so far, that like what was the history, what the places and all. But the question is, what was the causes which actually led to the evolution of human? Well, according to the distinguished anthropologist Sherwood Washburn, divergence of human and apes from their primate ancestors must have occurred after the development of brachiation, because they still retain certain brachiating characters such as broad trunk, flexible arm, and strong collarbone. What led to their return to ground must be the climatic condition changes. So this is a general observation overall, that whenever you talk about the geographical conditions or environmental conditions, they play actually the most crucial role out of all this. The Pliocene period was characterized by continental evolution and consequently increased aridity of climate, means the dryness of the climate increased. With this increased aridity, heat and tempering of tropical condition, the forest dwindled and shrinked towards the equator. They were replaced by widely spread savanna and grassland. Dart presumed that the gradual shrinking of forest and reduction in the number of trees compelled tree-dwelling forms to get down to the ground. Once on the ground, they rapidly acquired such adaptation as were necessary to ensure survival in the new habitat. The adaptation included, number one, prolonged childhood, which is generally not present in the tree-dwelling organisms. Second, retarded maturity of the skull. Third, increase of the brain. And finally, the adaptation to live in open area. These changes framed out individuals which are called humans. So this is a very important, very crucial stage to explain that how the evolution or why the evolution actually has happened. Now, we will try to draw a comparative study in between the man and apes with few texts and few diagrams, few images, so that we can understand that how they are different from each other or whether they are similar from each other. How great similarities between ape and man indicates that they have evolved simultaneously and from some common ancestor stock for quite some time. After that, man's ancestors assume bipedal gait and upright posture. Since once they are upon the field, upon the land, so organisms started to change. The humans started to change according to the prevailing environment. Now, whereas apes' ancestors still use their knuckles, they used to move on their fours. Following are the special features of man which have been acquired during humanization. Number one is the bipedal locomotion, started to move on the toes. Number two, upright posture, like we know, the erect position, the posture that we have right now. Forelimbs evolved into efficient grasping manipulation and maneuvering devices for making tools, hurling weapons, carrying objects. Opposable thumbs. This plays a very crucial role. Whenever we are holding anything, we are grasping anything, the thumb play a very crucial role in that. Large brain and high cranial capacity. And finally, face became orangutanus. Simian shelf absent, chin present, eyebrow ridge absent. So this protruding facial features which were present earlier in the apes started to diminish slowly and started to have more and more human-like face that we have right now. Now this is an image where the comparison is given. In the first figure, I found it very interesting, that's why I've included over here. In the first diagram, figure 1, you can see that the skull, the vertebral column, there is comparative structure of skull, vertebral column and the pelvic girdle present in both the cases. A is of ape and B is of that of human, you can see over here. Then in the second, figure 2, figure 4 actually, they are having this comparison of the pelvic girdles over here, like how the first is the ape, second is of the Australopithecus ones, and the last one is of man, Homo sapiens. On the right side of his figure 5, that how over the period of time the cranial capacity has increased, right from Australopithecus to right now Homo sapiens is visible, and even in the size of the orbit, the chin, the protruding areas, how they have got well defined, and how the overall structure skull has been transformed over a very long period of time is also shown over here. Now here one more comparative structure is there. You can see the facial region, teeth, skull in the position of occipital condyles. It has been compared over here. That specifically the position of the forearm and magnum. Earlier it was protruded towards the outwards. Now it's somewhere towards the inside. Then the neck muscles, the position of the neck muscles has changed. The canine tooth has changed. Sorry for the term changed, is actually has transformed. And then the second diagram, we are comparing the dental arch, and you can see very obvious differences in the structure of theirs. The dental arch of today's human is that of a dome shape, whereas that of an ape was absolutely different. Next is the evidences from molecular biology, because we have studied the biochemical or the molecular evidences play a very important role when we talk about any kind of transformation, any kind of evolution. So in this, advancement in the field of molecular biology has solved the degree of closeness between different primates and tracing their relationships. Comparison of amino acid sequences in considerable number of homologous proteins, such as some of the hemoglobin, cytochrome C, serum albumin, etc., or cross-reactivity of such protein found in man and ape has clearly indicated close relationship between man and ape, and chimpanzees is the closest to man. Since reaction towards the same substances, if they are reacting to the same substances, not reacting to the same substances also holds an important role. The relationship between two is described in terms of immunological distance between their homologous proteins and the time of their divergence. Some of the similarities are as follows. Structure of hemoglobin, comparison in the sequence of amino acid in the polypeptide chains of hemoglobin of man. Chimpanzee and monkey shows that there is absolute no difference in the sequencing of 141 amino acid in each alpha chain and 146 amino acid in each beta chain of hemoglobin of man and chimpanzee. This is a precise comparison in between the structure of hemoglobin. There are only 2 differences out of 287 amino acids between hemoglobin of man and chimpanzee, and between that of man and monkey there were 12 differences. This we have specifically studied when I was pursuing my master's, and during that time I had prepared a presentation on that, and I was project on that. So specifically, we had to focus upon this aspect of the evolution. So we have studied. I have studied it there. Molecular structure of other proteins, molecular structure of cytochrome C, insulin, and serum albumin in man and apes exhibit minimum difference. So means they are mostly similar. Humans and chimpanzees polypeptide exhibits on an average 99% of similarity, and this makes chimpanzee closest living relative of the man. So these are the above molecular proofs on the basis of which we can totally say that the chimpanzees are actually the closest to the human beings. Now here we can see the comparison in between the third and sixth chromosome of a man and that of a chimpanzees, and chromosomes of that of a chimpanzee given over here. So we can see some of the similarities over there in the present over here. Next, I would like to focus upon so you can see the comparative differences in between the skull, that how the considerable differences have come in the structure of the skull over the year. And now I would like to start the story right from the Proleopithecus. This was the ape-like primate. They had a very short arms, lived in the Oligocene period. Ancestors of modern apes and man, their dental formula is 2, 1, 2, 3 into 6, 3 into 2. The Egyptopithecus. These are named according where, because these were specifically found in the Cairo, which is in Egypt. Fossils found in Cairo. They were the fossil ape, similar to Proleopithecus, and they also lived in Oligocene. But it is they are named upon the location. They were specifically found in the Egypt. Then comes the one which is we are well aware. They also lived in the Oligocene period or early Miocene period, you can say. They have descended from the Proleopithecus. They had arms and legs of same lengths, has semi-erect posture without brow bridges, and it was arboreal, knuckle walker, ate soft fruits and leaves, common ancestors of mans and apes. This is from where the story actually starts in class 12 as well. Then comes the Ramapithecus. This is the prior to ape men, as you can see the image as well. Lived in the late Miocene and early Pliocene period. Fossil contains only jaws and dentition, which is V-shaped. We have seen the dental arch, so the dental arch also started to transform over here. Collected from India and Africa, the name specifically signifies that. Direct ancestor to man. Walked erect on its hind feet, had small canines and low crown molars capped with thick layer of enamel, ate hard nuts and seeds. So as we have seen earlier, we had got protruded canines in the Proleopithecus. These are absent in the Dryopithecus and the Ramapithecus ones. Then comes the Australo ones, which again holds a very important or milestonic position. It has specific reasons. First one, these are the ape men, lived in the Pleistocene period. Connecting link between man and ape. Australopithecus africanus is a common fossil. It is actually found all over the world. Wherever we are talking about, they might have got the ancestry. Erect posture with 4 feet height, bipedal locomotion, basin like pelvic girdle, dentition like man, hence used for non-locomotory functions, cranial capacity.
Neha, Mitra has lost connection, it seems. Let's wait for her to return.
She is having some network issue, ma'am.
Some network issues there.
Network might be problem.
Yes, sir.
You are back now?
Yes. Sorry. I had this network problem.
What happens, madam?
Actually, I had some network problem. Because of that, I was not able to present. Is it visible?
And in the meantime, few are leaving. This is not good.
So that is due to her network issue, sir. Sometimes it
Yes.
happens like that.
Presentation is not visible, no?
Sir, please keep a record of the names of the people.
Primitive man lived in Pleistocene period, also called the skillful man or the tool maker, as they learned to make the tools out of stones. Bipedal locomotion, taller than the Australopithecus, flattened skull, cannibalistic. Yes, this is one aspect which was not known earlier by me as well. They were hunters and gatherers. Less body hair, brain capacity is around 700 to 800 cc, and was first to use the tools as well. There was the first one knowing about that. Later came the Homo erectus, forerunner of modern man. Primitive man evolved from Homo habilis, 1.5 to 1.8 meters high, had protruding jaws, projecting brow ridge, and small canines and large molar teeth. Carrying capacity is around 800 to 1300 cc. He used fire, also called Java man, lived in Java and Peking. Actually, most of the fossils of these Homo erectus were found in Java and Sumatra Islands. So that's why they were mostly named like that. Then came the Heidelberg man. They were the early Homo sapiens, lived in the late Pleistocene period, found near Heidelberg River. Ancestor to Neanderthal man, cranial capacity, as the cranial capacity is increasing, so it's around 1300 cc. Known from their massive lower jaw. The jaw is large and heavy and lack a chin. Then next is the Neanderthal man, advanced primitive man found in Neander Valley, slightly shorter than modern man, had slightly prognathous face. Brain capacity was increased from 1300 to 1600 cc. Walk upright, low brows, receding jaws, large teeth, and domed head. Skillful uses of tools, developed speech, cave dwellers, adapted to cold environment. Then came the Rhodesian man, primitive man found in Rhodesia specifically, lived in late Pliocene period, receding forehead and heavy brows. Cranial capacity is again around 1300 cc. The Cro-Magnon one, which is the extinct modern man, lived in old Stone Age, lived in caves. There were hunters and artists. Cranial capacity 1650 cc. Face Orontonatus with an arrow, elevated face, broad and arched forehead, moderate brow ridges, strong man, strong jaws with man-like dentition, and a well-developed chin. Were direct ancestors of living modern man. Then, sorry for the spelling mistake, it actually Homo sapiens sapiens, which is the modern man. Evolved from Cro-Magnon, appeared from Holocene epoch near Mediterranean seas. Cranial capacity is around 1450. Advanced in farming techniques, domesticated animal, establishment of town, presence of 4 curves in the vertebral column. Course of cultural evolution has been divided into, then further divided into Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Bronze Age, and the present Iron Age actually. So we are not supposed to discuss that. So we have talked about all the history and other things about the Homo sapiens and that. Now it's necessary to, since evolution is a continuous process, it's never has must stop, and it is never going to stop. So I have prepared a bit about the future of man as well. That according to this, the cultural and industrialization relation which has taken place in today's date has reached that stage that man can change his environmental conditions as well. This has reduced the impact of biological evolution in human races. Anthropologist Shapiro is a very known one. He has imagined that man in future will be tall, slim, and without body hair. The skull will be dome-shaped and brain will be large. Their lifespan will increase and the 5th digit of the feet will be lost. And this future race of man is named as the Homo futurus. This is what has been proposed or actually conjectured by an anthropologist. And with this, that's the end of my presentation. Okay, it is visible now. So I am. So with this, I end my presentation. Now I would like to discuss with everyone present over here that when I was studying about this, there was many conjectured theory regarding the future of the man or all. So please everyone share your views.
Thank you, ma'am, for the presentation. It is a very colorful presentation, and you have tried to include each and everything. Although these are not included in the syllabus, but sometimes the students demand certain thing extra whenever we talk about evolution, especially related to origin of life, which you have talked in much detail, and about human evolution also. All the points were up to date, up to the mark, as I find. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Neha madam, for your nice presentation, and you made every possible effort to make us understand about human evolution, and you have added 2 new things, although it is not included in the syllabus, that is molecular evidences and genomic changes in human evolution. It was excellent, and for the updation of teachers. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Means a lot.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Nice presentation, huh?
Good afternoon, everybody. Ma'am, it was a nice presentation. It was a nice presentation. Even though we have some technical issue, but the things were updated and the things were improved, and well, exhaustively it was elaborated, and I hope that it will be useful for our part in classroom transaction. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lot of information collected by you, ma'am. And personally, that will be of most benefit for the teachers, because we have a tendency to leave those things which is not required as per the syllabus. But a lot of effort has been done by you to collect all the nice thing, and exhaustive study material. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yes, ma'am. The presentation was very nice and presented also nicely. Very nicely you presented and very much informative and helpful for us. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir. Thanks, sir.
Neha Mitra madam, your effort is nice. First time I shown you this type of the program, and your material appreciable. In coming time, human evolution, origin of the life, I think it should be divided into two parts. Because one time when I will discuss, or whosoever will discuss everything keeping in mind is not possible, either for a student or for a teacher. So whenever we will get next time, then we should divide this topic into parts. Origin of life, evidences of evolution in one part, and another part complete for the human evolution.
Human evolution.
Because this topic is difficult for the teacher to deliver in the classroom, as well as difficult for the students also. In 10th standard, evolution topic is not given in chronological order. In 12th standard given, so 10th level class as well as 12th level class, it is very difficult topic, and your effort is nice. In coming time, we will come with new energy and new prototype. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Nice presentation, Neha ma'am. One point I would like to share.
Yes, sir.
Charles Darwin explained human evolution in his book The Descent of Man. And we have evolved from ape-like ancestor, not from ape. In Descent of Man, he wrote that the men have evolved from ape-like ancestor, not from ape. You represented brilliantly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Neha ma'am, well done.
Thank you, ma'am.
A lot of area that was very nice, and your presentation was quite elaborate. So, did you pick up some of the slides from some sites?
Yes, ma'am. Some of the pictures I have taken from some of the sites.
Yes, it was visible. So nice. I hope we got the comments from everyone. Any questions anyone has? We have a lot of time left, 5 minutes left before the questions.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to discuss about this. What is the future? Some of the theories I studied, and some of the while doing this, I was studying that some of the suggestions were there that the future human is going to have a larger cranial capacity, and the columns and the limbs will be protruded. They will be reduced. So I just wanted to know that other teachers, what's their take about the future of the human beings.
Future of the human beings. Yes, teachers, do you want to comment? I would like to say that I am seeing a very bleak future considering the changes in the climate and the availability of water that is being discussed in the years to come. So I don't think the evolution will be towards the positive evolution, because mind capacity, the volume has increased now, but nowadays the IQ is being discussed, and since last 2 generations, means 20 years back, and now because of the resources that we have at the finger point, we are not using all the brain cells. The usage of number of brain cells 20 years back was more than what it is now, because the things are available at fingertip, and it is sensible also. If something is available, why should our children learn that and memorize that? So whether the brain capacity will increase or not is a question mark. And moreover, when everything is available, robotics will come. So it seems the brain capacity of the robots will increase and ours will reduce. Seeing the changes, it will not be biologically correct, but I'm just mentioning it because we are discussing. So it seems like our brain capacity will slowly decrease instead of increasing. So let us see what evolution has in store for us. Some of us will be there to see, some of us will not be there to see. The younger ones, those who are in their 20s, will see another 50 years, so they will see a better world. And I don't know how many of us will live for how long, because with the rising number of diseases and all, life expectancy is also supposed to decrease. Isn't it? So average life expectancy is medical advances are there, for that it is increasing. But if you watch, have you watched Contagion? There is a movie called Contagion. Any of you have watched? That came before COVID. I think it came in 2018. When SARS virus, it was based on the SARS virus. And can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Saying, have you watched this movie Contagion? It is there on Netflix. If you want, you can watch it, and you will see that the symptoms are just like what we faced in COVID. The person is becoming breathless and lose touch and sharing of the same room, and all, the person gets infected. So a lot of infections like that are on the rise. So maybe even with the medical advancements in the years to come, the life expectancy average years may become lesser. So let's see how evolution. I sometimes start this class by sharing with the students that bacteria somehow I feel is the most evolved. Don't you think? We say it is at the lowest level of the evolutionary ladder, but it is so self-contained, does not depend on others. How do we say that evolution is happening? From bacteria to human beings, we are dependent on so many things, while bacteria is in itself so evolved. Isn't it evolved? So, like this, if you start, children will argue with you and say, no, because of this, because of this. So, have a creative way of discussing things so that you derive the things through the children only. When we are teaching in class 12, the children already have some knowledge about evolution. So you can start with them giving you the reasons why evolution takes place and why it does not become, or where it is happening, what are the different ways of the evolution has taken place. Some others also to add to the discussion. Other teachers?
Ma'am, there was news, I think last year, we heard that some new arteries were discovered in the right hand of human beings. And this proves that evolution is still going on. They said like this.
Definitely, evolution will always happen. Whenever there is a crossing over and variation, okay, every individual will be unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
For every gene, we are having some changes. That is the reason for variation. So evolution has to happen. It will happen to the benefit of mankind or not is the question.
Yeah.
The thing is, evolution has to happen over all the phylums and all the organisms. Every area, every different species, genus, family, area. But whether it is happening in the positive direction or negative is subjective. It's very, very subjective. It may something that we as human beings find it as higher up on the evolutionary ladder, the animal might find it not evolutionarily positive for that. Some other organisms or plants for that matter. Okay. So evolution, we think that these like some things are very obvious, like position of the eyes. If we evolved into Homo erectus with both the eyes being in the front, so we are able to see a wider area and a longer space, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
binocular.
the animals like the carnivores and all, their eyes were placed on the snout is there and eyes are on both sides. So from there to this Homo erectus, what we have watched slowly, the eyes are able to see. Then we have the thumb, a possible thumb. The thumb is helping us in picking up things. So that led to a lot of other developments. So we have seen this in light of what we want as humans, and we say we are evolved, isn't it? But with respect to a microorganism or some other organisms, how do we see evolution is very, very subjective. So I don't know, you may discuss it. I always make people think about it. I want to leave you to a thoughtful situation when I discuss this. Okay, so let me, rest of you can share and keep discussing. I will share the link with you for the discussion. So, everyone starts.
Those who have not spoken till now, they should be.
Everyone should speak. We are not judging you in any way.
Yeah.
Nobody is here to judge anyone. You are all teachers. And most of you are experienced teachers. I always ask my teachers because they are going to class more often than me. When I am stuck up with a question, I take their suggestions and I ask them, I clarify my doubts. Because I am not able to go to the class as often as they do. So I might get forgotten. So it's okay. We must share and we must learn whenever an opportunity comes.
Sushila madam, Komal Jha madam, Anamika Singupta. Please speak.
One point I would like to share here that am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you're clear.
So when we are dealing this topic with the students, and we used to say that organisms keep evolving, everything is evolving now. So they are asking sometimes that if organisms are evolving, even as ma'am has said that bacteria are comparatively, if you will see, they are evolving and more evolving. So they are asking sometimes that why, ma'am, if from the simpler to complex form, the organisms are evolving, then why bacteria are still bacteria, and why the apes are still apes, and the human beings have evolved from them. So how we can explain this thing to the students in more simpler way? Why some organisms are still simple?
This is due to natural selection. All organisms don't die, they don't vanish from the earth. Some of them will still be left, and some are only due to natural selection, they are changed. They develop variations generation after generation, which accumulates, and the descendants become completely different from their ancestors.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I want to add some point in human evolution that we have certain genes which influenced by our environment in day-to-day life, and such genes are changing when we change our environment or due to our food habitat all these are giving effect on our genes, and that's why there is always scope of evolution in that
This
area.
is inbuilt variation or mutation.
It's not mutation, but
Inbuilt variation we can say.
change in it's a you are saying what? Pardon, what you are saying now? Sushila ma'am?
I wanted to say that organisms have inbuilt variations which are not visible all the time in their genes.
Yes,
And
ma'am. If it is in the, those genes, those who are silent genes,
yes,
then they are
silent.
not visible. But if by chance it takes place in such genes like the exons or the coding gene, then it will be visible.
Yes.
And sometimes these changes cause different kind of diseases. These diseases are these diseases are due to all those changes only. And sometimes it is not visible in those persons.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. Hello, Neha, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Ma'am, the slide was very good and very informative. There is a request for you. If you can share the slides or PPT in the group also.
Surely I'll do that, ma'am. I'll share in the
Thank you so
group.
much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And it was a very informative, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So all to fill the attendance and assessment, and then we assemble at 1:20. Alok sir, 1:20 is the time.
Yes, ma'am.
1:20 is the time.
Yeah.
And you finish at what time? 3:10, no?
Ma'am, we will start at 1:10. It's 1:10, I think. 1:10 to 2:40.
1:10 to 2:40.
Yes, ma'am.
But 1:20 was the time.